The Brothers Karamazov, Book 9, Chapter 1. Book 9, Chapter 1 is one of these meanwhile ... chapters in that Dostoevsky now circles back and lines this event up, the events of this and the next chapters up with what's been going on the last 3 chapters. So over 3 chapters ago, we were with Percotin and Dmitri, and the last 3 chapters of Book 8, we just followed Dmitri, and now we're going back in time to see what Percotin was doing while Dmitri was in that carriage ride, while Dmitri arrived at the hotel, and while Dmitri partied at the hotel at night after the Polish officer left. He and Grushenka had a couple discussions. Grushenka just about fell asleep in her drunken state, and Dmitri was arrested at the end of Book 8. Now we see what was going on in those 3 chapters all along. So at the end of the, I believe it's the 5th chapter of Book 8, Percotin knocks at Grushenka's rented house, and the door is never answered for the next 3 chapters. And here, as we open up Book 9 and Chapter 1, Fenya, Grushenka's servant, answers the door, and Percotin starts to compare stories, try to figure out what's been going on, and Fenya is just as into it, or even more into it than Percotin is. She says, yes, that's exactly it. He came and he grabbed the pestle, and then he came back, and he was dripping with blood, and the narrator interjects that she's not a reliable witness. She's a fantastical imaginer. It's all her imagination. Yes, he had blood, but he wasn't dripping blood, as she said. So now, Percotin's the dial's been turned to 10 as far as his alarm. And he doesn't know what to do with this new information. So all of the circumstantial evidence, the having no money and having a wad of money, grabbing the pestle, coming back bloody, can really only lead to one conclusion. He has gone to his father's house and murdered his father. But Percotin is only 99% sure of this. He can't be completely sure, and so he doesn't know what to do with the information. Yeah, he could run to Fyodor's house, but what if it's that 1 in 100 chance that that's not exactly what happened? And he finds Fyodor completely fine and at home sleeping, and then he wakes him up. He'll never hear the end of it. He'll never live that down. He can't be absolutely sure that that's what's happened. But then he remembers that there's another option. He doesn't just have to sit on the information, and he doesn't have to run to Fyodor's house to check it out. There's another option. He remembers that Dmitri had mentioned getting 3,000 rubles from Madame Khokhlakov, old Madame Khokhlakov, from way back in Book 2. We met her being dramatic with Father Zosima, and we've seen her being dramatic with her daughter Lise and with Alyosha, and even being dramatic with Katerina and Dmitri, their relationship. We see old Madame Khokhlakov as Percotin arrives at her door 11 p.m.-ish, wanting to see if to match if Dmitri's story of the source of the 3,000 rubles is true or not. If Madame Khokhlakov can validate Dmitri's story or throw it into question. Well, here is a comic scene ensues. It reminds me very much of the 1964 or thereabouts picture, The Graduate. You've got the widow who's not so widowy, who's maybe coming down in her nightgown at 11 p.m. She initially refuses to see Percotin because of the late hour, but he keeps insisting, and so Percotin sees this widow, Madame Khokhlakov, and he asks her about Dmitri, and initially she's offended, but then she can't help but notice two things about Percotin. Not only is he handsome, is he physically attractive and well-dressed and all that, but he's also such a admirable, responsible, thoughtful, thorough young man, and so she likes Percotin, and Percotin doesn't think she's old enough to be a widow. She can be mistaken for a daughter. And so in a sort of a comic scene, they are attracted to each other, and the narrator even throws a tantalizing prospect that after he's done with the brothers Karamazov, he'll go on to tell us the whole life of Percotin, which is a whole nother story that I guess the whole town knows, that he made a career out of courting or dating this woman, Madame Khokhlakov. So it's a sort of a comic relief section here in chapter 1 of book 9. But what's important in the midst of all the comedy is what Madame Khokhlakov says, or rather what she denies. And what she denies is ever giving that rascal Dmitri Karamazov 3,000 rubles. And not only does she deny it, she'll put that puppy in writing. And so she writes a legal document stating that she never, ever, ever, ever came close to giving that rascal Dmitri Karamazov 3,000 rubles. And then she is going to exaggerate, so the Fenya, Grushenka's maid at the beginning of the chapter, puts in a detail that wasn't true, which is Dmitri was bleeding, and now Madame Khokhlakov also puts in an interpretation of the events that isn't true either, and that is she comically describes her interaction with Dmitri as a providential act of God, a miraculous act of God to keep her from being murdered by Dmitri. And we know that we've already seen that interaction in the previous book. We know that wasn't the case. We know she's just being dramatic. There was nothing, there was never a threat that Dmitri would murder her for the rubles, and never a real threat of that. That is simply her just being dramatic. So we see that this chapter is a bit of comic relief, but you can already see what's going to happen here. The circumstantial evidence against Dmitri is bad enough already. Blood on his hands, possession of a weapon, the motive for a weapon, going from absolutely broke to wads of cash in one evening. All the circumstantial evidence is pitted against him. On top of all the circumstantial evidence, you have unreliable witnesses, such as Fenya and Madame Khokhlakov. Fenya, it seems unintentional. It's just her imagination ran away with her a little bit. Madame Khokhlakov, it seems a little more intentional, as she is just overly dramatic about her interpretation of events. And so what Dostoevsky is doing is in book 5, Ivan put God on trial, and now here with Dmitri, we put humanity on trial. And so what it looks like is Dmitri is guilty. And all the circumstantial evidence would point toward Dmitri's guilt. Then on top of that, the circumstantial evidence can be interpreted and exaggerated in the most negative light possible. And so the question is the question of human freedom is, are human beings guilty, or is redemption possible? So even in the midst of a comic relief chapter, still some important philosophical themes undergirding it.